The fire was everywhere, screaming, roaring, breathing. Lena remembered the heat licking her back like it was alive, dragging her out of the smoke by a hand she couldn't see. The night sky was red, the air thick with ash, and somewhere behind her, someone was still calling her name. She woke up 3 days later, wrapped in white sheets, her skin bandaged, her memories burned black. Everyone said she was lucky. But when the nurses whispered her name, she didn't answer, because she wasn't sure it was hers anymore. Every night since, she dreamed of the house still burning, and a woman's silhouette standing in the flames, smiling back at her. Would you still call yourself alive if the fire remembered your face better than you did? When Lena finally spoke, her voice came out wrong, like someone else was trying to talk through her. The nurses smiled, pretending not to notice, but they marked something on their charts. She kept asking about her family, but no one gave her straight answers. The detective came every day, his voice dry and patient, asking the same questions about the fire. Who got you out? She always said she couldn't remember. But in the corner of her mind, a voice whispered, you didn't escape. You were left behind. The fire investigators said the bodies were too damaged for immediate identification. Only dental records could help. But Lena's teeth didn't match any on file. Not even her own previous medical records. When she tried to laugh, it sounded like a hiss. She told herself the fire must be changed her. That trauma did strange things. But at night, when she closed her eyes, she saw her burned reflection walking toward her, still smiling. By the 5th day, they let her walk. Her steps echoed in the hospital corridor, softer than they should have been, as though the floor didn't feel her weight. She watched her shadow move ahead of her, longer, sharper, darker than the others. It turned a corner before she did. That night, she asked for a mirror. The nurse hesitated, then brought her a small one. Lena lifted it carefully, heart hammering. The face staring back wasn't hers, not entirely. The burn scars were gone, replaced by faint lines of soot tracing her cheekbones. Behind her reflection, through the dim light, another face smiled faintly. A face with no burns at all. The lab called just after midnight. Detective Pike stared at the printout, eyes narrowing as the fluorescent lights hummed above him. No match, the technician kept repeating. No match to the family. No match to national records. Not even a biological profile that made sense. Lena's blood sample didn't read as human. The isotopic data was older, decades older, than any possible match. Pike rubbed his temples, the sound of static whispering faintly through the phone line. For the first time, he wondered if the survivor had been protecting had ever been alive at all. When Lena woke, she found a fresh bandage on her arm where they'd taken more blood. The nurse avoided eye contact, mumbling about routine testing. But Lena felt it. Something missing. Something taken. Her veins ached under the skin, pulsing with warmth that wasn't pain but memory. She touched the bandage, and her fingers came away faintly black, dusted with ash. Detective Pike returned the next morning, carrying an envelope too thin for comfort. We'll need another sample, he said, voice dry, hiding something. Lena stared at him, her blue eyes flickering with something bright for just a moment. You already took enough, she whispered. The lights dimmed. He told himself it was the storm outside, but when he looked at her reflection in the window, her mouth was still moving, even though her real one wasn't. The results came faster this time. Pike watched the printer spit out the report, line after line of impossible data. Her genetic markers were identical to someone already in the system, a woman who had died in 1994. Same mitochondrial sequence, same birth date, same name. Lena Ward. The older file listed cause of death. House fire. Pike's stomach turned. He reached for the old photo stapled to the report, and the woman in it smiled exactly like the one he'd just visited in the hospital. When Pike returned to her room, the bed was empty. Sheets charred around the edges as if burned from the inside out. The smell of smoke clung to the air vents. Down the hall, a security camera flickered, showing a figure walking barefoot through the hospital exit, hair wet, skin slightly under the rain. Pike replayed the footage over and over, and in every frame her eyes were glowing faintly like coals that would never die out. The footage wasn't supposed to exist. Pike had ordered all copies destroyed after the report was closed, but an anonymous envelope arrived at his desk that morning. No return address, just a burned disc inside. He played it once, and the screen flickered alive with firelight. The camera trembled as firefighters rushed past. But through the chaos, something emerged from the burning doorway. Not running, not screaming, just walking. Skin glowing faintly beneath the flames, eyes reflecting nothing. Pike paused the frame and nearly dropped his coffee. It was Lena. But the timestamp said the footage was taken 3 minutes before she was found outside. He watched it again, frame by frame. The woman in the flames didn't flinch. Every movement matched Lena's perfectly. The way she tilted her head, the slight limp in her right leg. Only one thing was wrong. The smile. It was too calm, too knowing. As the roof collapsed, the woman looked directly into the camera for one impossible second and whispered something. Pike slowed the video. The words formed clearly. You shouldn't have saved her. He needed answers. Pike visited the hospital's security office, demanding access to the night Lena disappeared. The guard hesitated. There was something he didn't want to show. The screen flickered, static rolling over the feed. There she was again, walking barefoot through the rain just like before. But then, another figure followed. Same height, same hair, same everything. The second, Lena looked straight at the camera and smiled, teeth too white in the dark. Pike tried calling Lena's number, but someone else answered. The voice was gentle, almost musical. She's gone, it said. But she'll come back when the fire does. The line clicked dead. He sat in silence, phone still pressed to his ear, the faint smell of smoke curling through his office. Outside, thunder rolled. For a moment, his reflection in the dark window wasn't his. It was hers. Later that night, Pike dreamed of the fire again. He was inside this time, standing at the foot of the staircase as smoke filled the air. From the upstairs hallway, 2 figures looked down at him. Both Lennis, both smiling. One of them pointed at him with a hand made entirely of ash, and her voice echoed through the burning walls. You found me once. Don't do it again. He woke up coughing, tasting soot. The air in his room smelled like something burning. When they finally released her from the hospital, Lena didn't go home. Her house was gone. Ashes, rubble, and silence. Instead, she moved into a small apartment downtown with Mara Ellis, a woman she'd met in group therapy. Mara liked her instantly. She said Lena's calmness made her feel safe. But that first night, as they unpacked boxes, Mara noticed something strange. Every time she turned off the lights, the smell of smoke returned. Faint, but sharp, like burnt hair. She asked Lena if she smelled it too. Lena just smiled. You always smell it, she said soft. Mara started waking up at odd hours, the sound of whispering drifting through the vents. She checked the hallway, empty. The voices always came from Lena's room. One night, she pressed her ear to the wall and heard something that made her blood run cold. It was Lena's voice, soft and rhythmic, repeating a name over and over. But it wasn't hers. The next morning, Mara asked Lena who she was talking to. Lena looked confused. I was sleeping, she said. Why? Her tone was too calm, her smile too polite. Mara noticed ash smudged on Lena's fingertips. Later, when Lena left for a walk, Mara crept into her room. The air was hot, like a heater had been running non-stop. On the wall above the bed, faint black streaks formed the outline of a second handprint. That night, Mara couldn't sleep. Every creak in the apartment felt alive. Around 2 a.m., she heard water running. She crept to the bathroom door and saw steam pouring out from beneath it. She pushed the door open and froze. The shower was on, scalding hot, but Lena stood under it fully clothed, staring blankly at the drain as black water spiraled down. Her skin shimmered faintly, veins glowing beneath like molten cracks. After that, Mara started locking her bedroom door at night. She told herself it was just stress, exhaustion, but one evening she found something slipped under her door. A photo, half-burned, showing Lena and another woman who looked exactly like her. Scrawled across the back in ash was a single sentence: "She didn't survive." Mara stared at it for hours, heart pounding until she realized the photo was still warm. Mara couldn't stop staring at the photo. Two Lenas, the same face, the same scars, even the same faint burn pattern along the neck. She searched online, digging through archives and old fire reports. Then she found it. A case from 1994. House fire kills family of 4. Only daughter unaccounted for. The photo from the article matched the one in her hand exactly. Same date, same name, same eyes. But the Lena she lived with couldn't have been born then. That night, when she confronted her, Lena just whispered, "I told you I always smell the smoke." The next morning, Mara pretended everything was fine. She made coffee, smiled, talked about the weather. Lena sat across from her, silent, watching the steam rise from her mug. The smell of burnt wood filled the kitchen. When Mara blinked, she saw the table covered in ash. Lena smiled faintly. "You found it, didn't you?" she said, voice calm. "You shouldn't have looked." Then the lights flickered, and the air turned heavy and hot. That evening, Mara couldn't take it anymore. She dug through Lena's things, drawers, suitcases, boxes. Beneath a pile of burned clothes, she found an old ID card half melted at the edges. The photo was Lena's face, but the birth date read 1972. Her hands shook as she held it. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. "You weren't supposed to find that." Mara turned. Lena stood in the doorway, but her reflection in the mirror behind her wasn't still. It was smiling. Mara backed away slowly. "Who are you?" she whispered. Lena tilted her head, her eyes gleaming faintly orange in the dim light. "I was supposed to die," she said softly, "but the fire wanted to keep something." As she spoke, smoke began seeping from her sleeves, curling around her wrists like black ribbons. "It made another me," Lena continued, voice breaking. "But I don't know which one I am anymore." That night, Mara dreamt she was standing in front of the burned house. Both Lenas were there, holding hands in the doorway. "One of us lived," the left one said. The other never left. Flames roared behind them, and when Mara tried to move, the ground cracked beneath her feet, glowing red. She woke up gasping, the apartment filled with the smell of smoke. From the hallway, a whisper drifted through the air vents. "You should let me burn." Detective Pike hadn't slept in 3 days. Every report he opened led him back to the same conclusion. There had never been just one Lena Ward. 2 identical genetic profiles, 30 years apart. He dug through the archived case from 1994 and found something that made his blood run cold. A preserved tissue sample from the original fire victim. It matched exactly with the new Lena's blood. Not similar. Not related. Identical. Time didn't explain it. Science didn't either. Only the fire did. He called Mara. Her voice shook as she answered. "She's changing," she whispered. "Her skin. Sometimes it looks like it's burning from the inside." Pike grabbed his coat and drove through the night rain, the city lights blurring past. By the time he reached the apartment, the hallway smelled of smoke. The wallpaper near Lena's door had blackened in patches. From inside, faint humming echoed, low and rhythmic, almost like someone praying through flames. They broke down the door together. Lena sat on the floor, surrounded by burned photographs, ashes swirling around her like dust in a sunbeam. "It's still inside me," she murmured. "It's trying to finish what it started." Her skin shimmered, cracking slightly at her collarbone, revealing dull orange light beneath. "Every night, it pulls me back. It wants to burn again." Mara sobbed quietly. Pike couldn't move. The air in the room felt alive, heavy with heat. Pike tried reason. "We can help you," he said. But Lena shook her head. "No one can. The fire took something from me, so it made another to replace it." She looked up at them, tears evaporating on her cheeks before they could fall. "Maybe I was never her," she whispered. "Maybe I'm just what was left when she died." The air around her shimmered, a soft rumble filling the room like distant thunder. For a split second, her eyes turned black, and the light inside her brightened. The next morning, the lab confirmed what Pike already knew but couldn't accept. Lena's DNA sequence was carbon-dated to 1994. Her blood contained chemical traces of accelerants, burning agents used in the original house fire. She wasn't just linked to the event. She was the event. Pike stared at the final report, hands trembling. Somewhere in the distance, fire sirens wailed. He looked up at the skyline and saw smoke rising, not from her old house, but from the apartment complex he had just left. The building burned faster than it should have. Pike could see it from the street, flames crawling up the walls like they knew where to go. Sirens screamed in the distance, but he ran straight in. Smoke thickened the air, swallowing every breath. On the second floor, he found Mara coughing near the stairwell, face streaked with soot. "She's still inside," she gasped. Pike didn't hesitate. He ran toward the orange glow pulsing from Lena's room, where the fire burned in perfect circles, as if waiting. They found Lena standing in the center of her burning room, untouched by the flames. The fire moved around her like wind avoiding a sacred place. Her skin glowed softly beneath the smoke, hair floating as if underwater. "It's over," Pike shouted. "You have to come with us." She turned, smiling sadly. "I can't," she said. "I'm not supposed to be here." The floor beneath her began to crack open, glowing red from below, and the sound was like the house itself breathing. The floor gave way. Pike fell back, dragging Mara with him as the room collapsed into light. For a moment, he saw two figures in the fire. Two Lenas, hand in hand, one smiling, one crying. Their faces flickered like broken film. The voices overlapped, whispering the same words. "You saved the wrong one." Then, everything exploded in a wave of heat and silence. Pike's ears rang, his vision blurring with red and white. Somewhere above, the building screamed. When Pike woke, the fire was gone. Only rain fell now, hissing softly on the ruins. Firefighters pulled bodies from the rubble, but there was no trace of Lena. Just two sets of identical footprints burned into the floor, one leading out, one leading in. Mara sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket, shaking. "She wasn't the survivor," she whispered. "She was the one the fire kept." Pike stared at the ashes as steam rose from the ruins, the smell of smoke heavy in his lungs. Weeks later, the report closed as undetermined cause. Pike quit the force. Mara moved away, but sometimes when the night wind shifted, the air still smelled like burnt wood. A new building stood where the apartment once was, its windows reflecting orange light long after sunset. And every so often, a tenant would swear they saw her in the hall mirror. A woman with pale skin, blue eyes, and smoke rising faintly from her hair. Would you still trust the survivor if she wasn't supposed to exist?